Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Om. Adorations to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha, Upashama Prakarana, section 52. Sage Uddalaka practices inquiry in his early days when he was not realized. And this is the sample of his inquiry process. And giving you, therefore, insight into how to practice vichar. Vichar is translated as inquiry. And what you are inquiring about? Nobody else, yourself. Where are you hiding? Just to have a simple understanding, countless souls in the realm of illusion, they are like reflected suns in so many jars of water. Countless things that reflect the sun, but just giving you a jar as a sample. If you are in a jar of water, you reflect it. Everyone, when you think of who you are, that's where you are in that jar. Your personality is a vessel. Mind is the water in that personality. It is the mind that brings you your identity. Who are you? Anybody looks into jar, and what highlights the jar is the reflection, the reflected sun. But that reflected sun is essentially the sun, but not as the sun as in appearance. Reflected sun in the jar of water is nothing compared to the sun. Because that's not a big thing to understand. Keeping that in your mind, which another point, vichar is not stressful thinking. When you begin to, or you are under problem, a challenge, you sit down and you think hard how to resolve it. That thinking hard is not vichar. That's the type of vichar that is in the realm of ignorance. It enhances your ignorance. It is supported by ignorance. And it changes as you turn to real vichar. Real vichar firstly, becomes possible as you promote calmness in your mind. So mind must have meditative atmosphere. So you should be well skilled in concentration, meditation. Now it has provided you with an atmosphere. In that calm atmosphere, you have two choices. Allow your mind to go on meditating and just lose anything and go into superconscious state. Or now allow your mind to capture a profounder understanding. The fact is, it happens spontaneously. So, basic point to understand, your vichar to be effective requires calmness of your mind and mind to be free of impurities. Mala and vikshepa should not be dominating. Mala, gross impurities. Vikshepa, mind should not be shaking, turning to many directions. In that mind, what becomes highlighted? A keen interest in understanding. Who am I? Emerging out of all illusions through a process of vichar. So that vichar has to be understood. Now, however much limited your mind may be, and your vichar may not be perfect, but shouldn't be discouraged. You start introducing those words into your mind. And when mind begins to taste it, then it wants to move away from distractions and goes after the taste. With that, let me go on with the exact materials from the Yoga Vasistha. Just as an elephant cannot be confined in a small hole, in the same way, I, who am the pure self, cannot be confined in the limited confines of the mind. Similarly, the real I am in you cannot be comprehended by your mind. The entire mind can't capture who am I. Whatever mind captures brings out worldly knowledge, worldly feelings, worldly involvements. That mind can imagine great things. But imagination, capturing the imagination is just capturing sky in water. And it's not complete capture. So, important to understand that liberation cannot be fully comprehended or fully confined within the mind. It transcends your mind. How much? Just as an elephant cannot be confined in a small hole. If you are an elephant and your mind is only a small hole, the only way you can enter that hole by breaking it. The only way you allow the vichar to be effective by manonash. And the mind moves away from its normal habit of likes and dislikes and develops a mystical hobby of calmness and stillness. In that stillness you progress with your vichar, your real understanding of who am I. Until then, your mind is dealing with a fictitious I. So no matter how it makes you look wonderful or feel wonderful, your real I am is not involved. You are pleasing a monkey ego with its legs, raga and dvesha, attachment and hatred. The monkey ego, the more it gets a strength, greater its hold on your neck. Put a monkey on the legs, go around and cross your neck. And you come to forget where your head is. Look up the monkey. And you please the monkey, the legs become a little relaxed. Feel better. But the monkey doesn't get pleased. One pleasure after another. And you are just involved, pleasing that monkey that cannot be pleased. And that's the predicament of state of the soul in bondage. And to be released, highlight your own head, not monkey. Monkey on your head. Even though the monkey is there, try to understand you are the master of that monkey. And when you come to understand in a profound way, the monkey, first stage, monkey does no harm to you, rather becomes your wonderful pet. Old time people used to use monkey pet for entertainments. Go still higher, monkey doesn't exist. You alone are. Somehow fell into a little dream. Self cannot be confined in the mind. The mind cannot contain the self. So your I am is not within your mind. It is indeed regrettable, O mind, that you have taken your abode in the dark well of the world process, abounding with snakes, scorpions, and evil spirits in the form of anger, greed, passion, and other impurities. Therefore, I am bent upon abandoning you. It's a dramatization. Think of real sun has come to a little pot of water. And in that there is a reflected sun. It is talking to the pot. And telling, you pot, you watery mind, what have you done? You have made me sink into this water. And what does that water contain? As the sun is ever free. Reflected sun is ever in a state of agitation. And then the description of the worldly restlessness. How is mind constantly shaken under torture? You want to listen to it with snakes. The worrisome ideas enter your mind, they sneak through the cracks. They look so cozy and comfortable as they glide in. But they are so venomous. So many worldly ideas enter the mind. The mind, unless you allow your mind to have a great protection by satsanga and your sadhana, if you don't do that, the world is constantly impacting your mind. And a lot of snakes sneak into your mind. Worries, sorrows, and scorpions. Certain stage of trouble can create sadness, etc. But scorpions, from beginning to end, they are terrible creatures. They don't look well. They don't sneak. And the sting of the scorpion. So certain things happen to your mind, which is certain worrisome thoughts enter like scorpions. And then there are evil spirits, pishachas. Your mind is possessed by devilish spirits of anger, hate, greed, passion, and all impurities. So, the spirit, the sun looking into a jar of water, sees the miserable predicament it has entered into. That's the beginning of vichar. You are seeing both aspects. One aspect, you are the sun. Another aspect, what has happened to that sun? The soul that is constantly dependent upon the water for its definition. The water calm, the soul feels wonderful. Agitated, that's agitation. If the water is muddy, then there is no healthy revelation of who am I. It is indeed regrettable, O mind, that you have taken your abode in the dark well of the world process. Abounding with snakes, scorpions, and evil spirits, etc. Therefore, I am bent upon abandoning you. Say goodbye to the pot and the water. Further, you have given rise to the deluded notion that this perishable body is me, the self. And thus you have become the basis for the ego sense. Now, subtle psychology. The illusion that I am the physical body that perishes, that illusion has been supported by, or it comes through the mind. It's the mind that brings about that notion, I am the body. Every notion, every emotion is a part of your mind. So, mind is the one that is supporting this notion. I am the physical body. The mind is not knowing the I am, nor it is knowing that physical body is not a reality. But mind has created that. And thus we have become the basis for the ego sense. And that sense of individuality that has developed, that's maintained by the mind, that sense of individuality is highlighted by egoism. In other words, it's the same mind that creates illusions, has created ego identity. I am the ego. This ego sense is considered as a reality only by those who are immature in their understanding, like children. The wise consider it as an illusory appearance. So first point is being hammered upon you is egoism is not the I. Our ego is not the real I am. It is childish mind that doesn't find any problem. Simple illustration. Mother tries to entertain a child, brings a dish of water in the open, and the sun reflects in it. The mother says, I'm going to give you the sun, look. And the child looks at the mother, how great are you? You brought the sun. The child has no problem. She accepts it, that the sun is there in the dish of water. But grow up. Whatever mind is bringing out, that's not the real one. But it does relate to the highest. If you unmind yourself, allow the mind to become purified. I have examined this body from head to foot. I have not found the I anywhere in it. Start with your toes. First stage, you get injured. Your toe is injured by a little hit. Say, I'm injured. But then ask yourself, are you in the toe? No, not in the toe, are you the toe? You are not the toe. You are using the toe like your instrument. Using the same way, start with the whole body from toes to the head. Nowhere you are using this like a person uses a cloth. But then, who are you and where are you? I have examined the body from head to foot, but I have not found the I anywhere in it. The real I am is the essence behind the three worlds. The real I am is the sun. Sun is illumining the whole earth. See, allegorically, similarly, The real I am is sun of the sun, light of lights, unconditioned by time, space and causation. That I am has to be brought out in your vision. Instead of constantly holding on to the limited little I am, and thereby allowing the mind to be filled with scorpions and snakes and demoniac impurities. Mind has a turmoil of many things. But instead of having all the turmoil, have a holy oil. How do you turn turmoil into holy, sacred oil? By this type of thinking. I am the embodiment of pure consciousness. Turn to awareness. Awareness is the basis of all your experiences. But awareness of so many things, all that you experience are reflections. Your awareness is like a big, calm ocean. And reflections are countless that get into the ocean. They are comfortable in the ocean. They seem to be creating a boundless stories about themselves within the ocean. But the ocean doesn't have anything to do with it. That ocean is your consciousness. And again, another point, the idea of thinking of consciousness, my consciousness, their consciousness. No, I'm talking about the consciousness. The multiplicity concept is reflection in consciousness. So, when you come to that state of I am, pure consciousness, then all souls, all that is in the world, you become the sustaining substratum behind all. Aham Brahmasmi, when you discover I am Brahman, that Brahman is this reality behind the entire universe in every detail. So, I am Chit, I am Sat, I am a pure existence. And pure existence is pure awareness. I am a mere witness to the illusory presence of the drifting mind. This I am continues to play its role through your conditioned mind as ego. But that I am is actually a witness to whatever happens in your mental process. The example is, you go on remembering how things were in your childhood, how things were when you were very egoistic, how things were when you became humble. So there is someone can watch over all this and stay aloof. That witnessing self, that's your pure awareness, untouched by all these that are brought about by conditioned mind. All the mind that can tell you the story of bondage and release, from the state of bondage to the state of moksha. The entire story is the realm of Maya. I am a mere witness to the illusory presence of the drifting mind. All the story of your own and story of the whole world is based on mind. Think of modern technology. All the world of stories, Google and the whole information about the world, countless systems, countless things of astrology, astronomy, geology, physics, chemistry, and all that. And all stars and their studies. How do you get them? Just by your little finger in your iPad. Your iPad, brain and nervous system, and conditioned mind operating through the iPad. That has brought you to all the knowledge of this vast universe. And that you can tap, just like from the iPad, you can bring out a certain series of data, series of knowledge. And when you don't need it, you move away from it. Led by your mind, you are capturing so many experiences. Even the idea of your embodiment is a part of that folder within folder business. And all this is not taking place in some real space and time. Space and time are being experienced by your mind. O mind, you have two aspects. The vibratory aspect belonging to the prana and knowledge aspect belonging to the self. Now, just to understand in a very easy way, mind has two aspects. Just like in a cinema show, all that you are seeing on the screen are projections cast upon the screen. All the projection process is mental process. Just like projections are directed toward the screen, mind's thoughts create projections supported by pure consciousness, which is like the screen. So all that you are experiencing through the mind, those experiences called vibratory experiences. They are constantly changing every moment, and they require energy that must vibrate, resonate, pulsate. But while all this happens through the pulsating energy, the screen doesn't pulsate. The screen is not in the world of projections. So when projections are understood to be illusion, that everything that has been projected behind it, the screen is the reality. That's when we say, behind every name and form, Bhagavan, God abides. God alone is underlying all names and forms. The screen alone is underlying all projected stories. every face, big one, demoniac ones, divine ones, everyone's smiles, their teeth, ugly things, good things. Behind everything there is nothing but the screen. And put it in more in a classical terminology, what we have talked about, bhava pratyaya and pratyaya bhava. The world is being experienced as projections. That's bhava pratyaya, presence of projection. And when cinema is over, then the projection itself becomes absent. That's called pratyaya bhava. Pratyaya abhava. Abhava is absence. Projection has been negated. And both movements start through your mind. Movement to be awakened, movement to be more and more involved, bondage and release. So long I have been overpowered by the cunningness of ajnan, ignorance. Thus I have been tortured in the same way as a fawn is kept in fright by a ferocious wolf in the forest. Simple illustration can be easily understood. You are dear one. How dear? How cute. You are fawn, little baby deer. Hardly you can enjoy seeing the deer in that wonderful state. Suddenly you see a wolf looking at the deer. So one side is a deer, another side is ferocious wolf, and another side is a suspense. And that's the predicament of soul under the grip of ignorance. So, poetic language to describe. Soul in itself is very cute. Childlike. Lends a gracious beauty to the whole forest. But then ignorance spoils all this wonderful scene that you started seeing. Now, fortunately, I have discovered the thief that had stolen the precious treasure of wisdom. That thief is the mind. The same mind that goes on causing problems and as if scolding you to find solutions, etc. The same mind as a stolen. You are trying to get all relief through a thief. that has stolen your treasure. So you have to be careful. That thief is you, this mind, which I will no longer welcome. Just as a passing cloud hovering over a mountain summit doesn't belong to the mountain. In the same way, the mind does not belong to me. Me, I am, real I am, is like a mountain. And a mind is just like a cloud that asserts I am the mountain by hovering over the mountain. Egoism asserts I am the mountain. People don't look at the mountain, but sometimes they look at the cloud over it. But it's not the cloud that really to be highlighted, it's the mountain. That's the reality behind it. So ego is a drifting cloud. Your real I am is a mountain. Figure that out. So if you move from unreal I am, that's egoism, to real I am, you are moving away from shaky, unstable status to immutable status. With ego, you are mutable, shaky, constantly changing. With enlightenment, discovering the real I am, you are mountain of mountains. You are unshaken, immutable. The self abides in the body and is all-pervasive, eternal and non-dual. Abides in the body is only allegorical language. Body doesn't exist. So when you are looking at a pot full of water and sun in it, the message is the sun is there in that pot. But now your turn is not to understand the pot and everything and sun inside. But you are being pointed out to the sun that is the real sun. In other words, if you want to look for who am I, start looking for your own body, mind, intellect. And then ultimately you discover that sun alone is the reality. So from that point of view, the self abides in the body and is all-pervasive. Abides in the body, you start looking for the self through your body. But in another level of understanding, that self is all-pervasive, everywhere, eternal and non-dual. Simple point. From ego, I am, to absolute Brahman, I am. There is no place for the illusory and false ego sense. Since the ego is unreal, all relationships sustained by it are also illusory. Beyond the multiplicities created by the ego sense, the self exists as the only reality. Just as a stone and a piece of iron are in contact with one another, they are not mutually related. Simple illustrations begin. We're looking at a stone and then a little nail upon the stone. The The nail is totally different from the stone, and they cannot really blend ever. In the same way, the body, senses, mind, and consciousness seem to be in contact with each other, but in reality are completely distinct from each other. Deluded by the ego sense, people say, this belongs to me. But that object belongs to somebody else. Now this is affirmation through your ego. This is mine and that belongs to somebody else. But in reality, the self alone is. When the knowledge of the self rises in the firmament of one's heart, the mist of delusion disappears. I deem that state to be my object of aspiration, wherein this ego sense is forgotten forever and never more recalled. That's the state of liberation. You no longer look for your ego. After you go through deep sleep and you wake up, there's some short period, short moment when you are looking for where is my ego. And immediately ego jumps into you. And then you have the whole iPad. Now, memories start coming from the past, present, and future. The whole world opens up. Let that ego go away forever. Because whatever it is bringing is illusion. So your fulfillment is not in the realm of ego. But in absolute effacement of ego. And that's the subtle meaning behind all the mantras, Namah, neither me nor mine. And the word Sharanagati, surrender to God. And the word self-effacement all relates to your ego. But also understand when we say self-effacement or moving away from ego, you are left with another big problem. How will you know you are moving away from ego? Whoever is telling you are moving away is ego. So therefore now we understand that ego is playing the role of ego in three levels: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. The more you allow tamasic and rajasic to be sublimated, controlled, transcended, the more you allow, greater is the purity of your ego. And that purity of ego is bringing out the reality of I am. So you will have ego, but not the same rajasic, tamasic, but transparent ego. So transparent that ego itself has no identity. In practical world, it will express in the form of humility. The more you know, the more you progress, the more you blossom, greater is your, profounder is your humility. You have no need to express, I have done all this. The I am tendency, highlighting the I am, that will move away from you. You don't need anybody's appreciation or anyone's recognition. You don't have to go into into big publicity, viral. This ego sense flourishes through the identification with the body and its relationships. Ego becomes much more active and alive in relation to relationships. If you simply say, this is me, ego is quiet. But when your mind turns, that person I love better than myself. And those foods, if I don't get, I will not be happy. So your I am is extending. The whole world of value relates to your I am, whether you value it positively or negatively. The ego within you is the one who asserts, I am the knower this, I am expecting that. But behind that ego, the reality is I am, absolute I am. Your ego has to come to that state that whatever ego builds up or relations, the awareness and revelation that behind all that there is same I am. Ego builds up multiplicity. Ego creates a whole world of dream. But behind the entire dream, your real nature. Dream is an illustration. You wake up from your dream, you are on your bed. You wake up from the dream of the world, and you are not on your bed, you are Brahman, the Absolute. When the cloud of ego swells with the waters of impure vasanas and rains on the fields of the heart, the tree of the body becomes decked with numerous blooms of defects and diseases. This is a poetic way of describing how ego brings about the experience, involvement in the world process. But swelling of the ego requires impure vasanas, subtle desires of the unconscious. Subtle desires of the unconscious pollute your heart. And then comes a body identity, that I am the body, I am this. When we talk of body, three bodies are involved: physical, subtle, causal. And these three bodies contains all your defects, diseases, virtues, vices. The moral is, don't let the cloud of ego swell. And the message behind it, you have stages: controlling your mind, controlling and working upon purifying your vasanas, and allowing your intellect to become intuitional. Mala, Vikshepa and Avarana, 3 levels. And with this I am going to conclude. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukuma Bandhanan मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृतात्। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। असतो मा सद्गमय, तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय, मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम हरि ओम तत्सत्।